The warden only hunts liars. Then why the hell did he take my brother? Black Creek is the kind of place you only pass through if you're lost. It's situated so deep in the heartland that the nearest town with a Starbucks is over 2 hours away. It is, quite literally, surrounded by corn. Miles and miles of it like a stagnant green ocean that swallows the horizon whole. The air here doesn't just smell like soil. It smells like time, decay, and a quiet, nervous energy that never fully dissipates. The town survives on that corn, and the reason they've never had a truly failed crop, they say, is because of the Harvest Warden. If you're not familiar, the Warden is our local boogeyman, and he is a uniquely terrifying figure. They describe him as an impossibly tall scarecrow, stitched together from burlap sacks and bound with ancient twine. But his face isn't a typical cross-stitch, it's a crude, warped animal skull, its teeth perpetually bared in a silent snarl. His clothes, caked in dry, black mud and straw, seem to perpetually rustle even when there is no wind. He appears every October, a week before the harvest, and he stands sentinel in the largest field near the old widow's farm. But he's not there to keep the birds out. He's there to collect. The threat isn't a random curse or some generic demon. It's a moral test, enforced by a creature of folklore. Every story they tell backs this up. Old Man Smith, who defrauded his insurance company for the tractor fire, gone, swept away by the warden. Miss Jane, who notoriously cheated on her taxes and underpaid her workers, vanished without a trace. The message was clear, drilled into us from kindergarten. Be truthful, be righteous, or you pay the tithe. This belief, this strange moral code, was the bedrock of Black Creek. It made the town safe in a terrifying, monitored way. And that's what makes Caleb's disappearance so terrifying, so fundamentally wrong. The legend always held up, the rule was inviolable, until last Harvest Eve. Caleb was the most honest person I've ever known. I mean that without exaggeration. He was the kind of person who'd correct a cashier if they gave him a dime too much change. He was the guy who stayed up all night to file his roommate's overdue paperwork because he promised he would. He was my older brother, my anchor, and the only person who understood the suffocating strangeness of this place. When Caleb vanished, everything fractured. The sheriff, a weary man named Dale who'd been raised on the warden's stories, was visibly unnerved, but insisted on the official report, a probable runaway. But I knew they were wrong. Caleb wasn't a runner. I knew the warden took him. And if the warden took him, the most honest soul in the county, it means everything we thought we knew about this town and that damn scarecrow is a lie. It happened late, around 1:30 a.m. on Harvest Eve. Caleb was just going out to check on a stubborn old combine he was fixing for a neighbor down the road. It was a clear, crisp night. When I went out there the next morning, the combine was running, its headlights blazing uselessly into the dawn fog. But he was gone. No struggle, no signs of a fight, not a broken stalk of corn, just the endless rows, and this patch of mud. Not the typical Black Creek soil. This stuff was black, almost greasy, and unnaturally cold to the touch. It smelled like burnt oil mixed with something feral and ancient. The sheriff wrote it off as a Giesel leak, but the way it was tracked, in 3 massive asymmetrical prints leading from the machine into the dense corn, told a different story. It was exactly the texture of the mud they say stains the warden's clothes, a substance unique to the fields under his direct influence. The townspeople, however, clung to the moral imperative. They eyed me with a mixture of pity and suspicion. "Your brother must have lied about something," Old Man Jenkins muttered at the general store, his eyes never quite meeting mine. "It's the rule, kid. The warden don't make mistakes. You just didn't know your own brother as well as you thought." Their words were like a shield, protecting them from the possibility of chaos. They were trying to reassure themselves, but I was looking at Caleb's empty room, at his life, a life where he was meticulous about honesty, and something didn't click. If the warden's rule was absolute, then Caleb was untouchable. His disappearance wasn't a tragedy, it was a contradiction that could unravel the entire fabric of this community. I started to wonder, what if the rule is wrong? What if the warden doesn't hunt liars but something else entirely? What if the real sin here isn't telling a lie, but hiding a truth? Caleb seemed anxious in the weeks before he vanished. Not dishonest, but definitely secretive. He spent hours alone in his study, whispering on the phone, sketching strange diagrams. He was digging for something, and whatever it was, it terrified him. I spent weeks tearing apart his apartment, feeling like a grave robber. I wasn't looking for a confession. I was looking for a reason. And finally, I found it. Tucked away in a secret compartment beneath a loose floorboard, a compartment he'd built himself, not a diary, but a file. Caleb wasn't just fixing tractors, he was investigating the warden. The file was meticulous. It contained copies of town records, old sermons, and, most crucially, a translation of the original land deed and covenant from the 1800s. He'd consulted a university scholar, an expert in archaic regional Latin, whom he paid in cash and sworn to secrecy. Caleb focused on one specific passage, the central pillar of the town's belief. The common accepted translation read, "The watcher shall collect the soul of the liar as a tithe." But Caleb found an older, more accurate translation. The Latin wasn't mendacem, liar, it was pignorum, or decimum. The passage actually read, "The watcher shall collect the soul of the tither as a tithe." The tither, the person who is part of the agreement, the one who knows. The revelation hit me like a physical blow, robbing the air from my lungs. The original farmers didn't just agree to a harvest, they agreed to eternal silence about the creature's existence. The warden wasn't a moral guardian enforcing honesty, he was a contract enforcer, punishing those who threatened to break the silence. He wasn't looking for dishonesty, he was looking for non-compliance, for the betrayal of the original blood oath covenant. The people who disappeared, Old Man Smith wasn't taken because he lied to his insurance company. He was taken because he saw the warden drag off a neighbor 20 years ago and kept quiet, thus confirming his status as a tither who knew the secret. Miss Jane wasn't a tax cheat, she was a descendant of the original families who knew the secret but chose silence to protect the town's prosperity. She was a tither who was due. The entire town wasn't built on honesty, it was built on a lie of omission. Every one of them who knew the truth, the sheriff, the farmers, the elders, they were all tithers, holding their breath, hoping the warden would choose an outsider. They were the willing participants in a never-ending cycle of terror. That's why Caleb was taken. He hadn't told a single lie, but he was about to expose the biggest one of all. He was collecting proof, audio recordings, high-res photos of the warden's location, the scholarly translation. He was preparing to blow the whistle on the entire Black Creek curse. He was going to save them, even though they deserved the truth far less than he deserved to live. He was temporarily keeping silent to protect his investigation. He was honoring the rule of honesty by seeking the ultimate truth. But in doing so, he made himself the prime target for the creature that feeds on silence. The warden took him not for the lie he told, but for the one he was about to destroy. He was punished not for lying, but for trying to end the lie. He was taken because he didn't want to live in a lie anymore. And I swore to him, in the empty spaces he left behind, that I wouldn't either. They wanted silence? They wanted the truth buried in the corn? Well, I'm not playing by the rules of this twisted legend anymore. I have his evidence. I have the true translation. I have the photos, and I'm going to share everything. I'm out here now, in the field. The harvest is starting tomorrow, and I know it's heard me. The whole town, those who know the truth, they're watching this video. Terrified. They think my voice will summon it here, that my exposure will bring the creature down on all of them, breaking their cycle of false peace. I'm deep in the maze now. The corn is taller than ever, blocking the moonlight. The silence isn't peaceful. It's a suffocating blanket, broken only by the sound of my own shallow breathing and a strange dragging sound somewhere close. I can smell the dry rot and the metallic scent of old blood the wind carries from the center. Whispering, panicked. I know it's out there. It's coming for me, because I'm speaking its truth. But I can't be silent. I have to finish this. If I disappear, if this video cuts out, this is why. I made a promise to Caleb. I will not be a tither. I can see the black mud tracks now, fresh and glistening, just a few yards ahead. The smell of oil and burnt earth is overpowering. The rhythmic, heavy dragging is right behind the next row. It's moving slowly, deliberately, enjoying the hunt. It knows I am speaking. It knows I am documenting, and it is coming to enforce the contract. I have to be fast. I have to finish. I can hear the stalks snapping now, one by one. I've uploaded all the evidence to an encrypted server. I've shared the key with the university scholar Caleb worked with. I've sent the link to every major news outlet. I won't let his sacrifice be another secret they bury. If this creature stops me, the truth will still get out. They will read the covenant. They will know the warden only hunts those who threaten the status quo. I'm dropping the camera now. It's too close. I can see the outline, the skull, the hands of mud and straw. I can hear the final guttural shriek of the warden. It sounds like 1,000 years of silence being violently ripped open. I won't be a tither.